34 CE, Egypt. A Roman historian records something unusual. Not a miracle, not a divine apparition, an observation. Publius Cornelius Tacitus, Rome's most respected historian, writes that a strange bird has appeared in Egypt, distinguished by its coloring, unlike any species catalogued by Roman naturalists, rare enough to trigger serious debate. Egyptian priests, Greek scholars, Roman officials, they gather to discuss what they are seeing. Some call it the phoenix. This matters not because ancient people believed in myths, but because they treated this appearance as natural history, as something observable, recordable, open to disagreement. The question isn't whether ancient people believed in the phoenix. They did. The question is, what were they actually seeing? The bird everyone thinks they know. The phoenix is familiar, a bird of fire, of rebirth. It lives for centuries. It dies in flame. From its ashes, a new phoenix rises. That version of the story dominates later literature, from Roman poetry to medieval bestiaries. What almost no one asks is where this story originated, or why educated observers once discussed the phoenix seriously instead of dismissing it outright. Greek writers called it phoenix, a term linked to reddish-purple hues, colors associated with sunrise, blood, royalty, and eastern lands. They disagreed on its lifespan. Some claimed 500 years. Others cited 1461, a number tied to ancient astronomical cycles used to mark world renewal. When death approached, the bird was said to build a nest of aromatic substances: myrrh, cinnamon, frankincense, resins imported from Arabia and the Horn of Africa. Then it perished. From the remains, another phoenix emerged. To modern readers, this sounds symbolic. To ancient authors, it was reported the same way distant animals were reported. Rare, secondhand, and extraordinary, but not fictional. They did not write about the phoenix as allegory. They wrote about it as zoology, the Egyptian origin. To understand why, you have to go further back. 440 BCE, Herodotus travels to Egypt. He visits Heliopolis, the city of the sun, one of the most ancient religious centers in the Mediterranean world. There, Egyptian priests tell him about a sacred bird. They show him images carved into temple walls and preserved in ritual art. Herodotus is careful. He openly admits he has never seen the bird himself. He expresses skepticism, especially about the claim that the bird transports its dead parent encased in myrrh across the desert. He states clearly he does not believe that part, but he still records the account. Why? Because the priests insist the bird exists, that it appears rarely, that its appearances are remembered, discussed, and placed within historical time. Herodotus describes it as roughly eagle-sized, with red and gold plumage, sacred to the sun god, appearing at long intervals around 500 years. He distinguishes disbelief in details from disbelief in existence. That distinction is critical. The original was not a phoenix. The Egyptians did not call it the phoenix. They called it the Bennu. The Bennu was not a creature of fire. It did not burn. It did not rise from ashes. It was a bird. Egyptian texts describe it as heron-like, long-necked, long-legged, often shown with a two-feathered crest. It appears in the pyramid texts as early as 3000 BCE, among the oldest religious writings known. Early depictions resemble a small wagtail. Over centuries, the imagery changes. Later reliefs and tomb paintings show a much larger bird, clearly heron-like, perched on sacred stones or trees. The Bennu symbolized renewal through return, not destruction. It represented continuity. The sun rising each day, the Nile flooding each year, order repeating rather than restarting. The idea of combustion does not appear in Egyptian sources. That element enters the story later. When Rome took notice, the Romans were obsessive record keepers. They documented eclipses, earthquakes, comets, famines, unusual births, strange animals. Anything that disrupted normal patterns was written down. Phoenix sightings were no exception. In 96 BCE, the senator Manilius recorded an appearance and linked it to the Great Year, a vast cosmological cycle believed to govern renewal of the world itself. In 36 CE, Cornelius Valerianus documented another sighting. Then, in 34 CE, Tacitus addressed the phenomenon directly. Tacitus does not sensationalize. He reports disagreement. He notes contradictions among earlier sources. He records scholarly debate over the bird's age and origin. Then he concludes something precise, that there is no dispute that such a bird is occasionally seen in Egypt. Not that it is supernatural, that it is seen, the famous fake, and why it matters. In 47 CE, Emperor Claudius celebrated Rome's 800th anniversary. He wanted signs, omens, a sense that Rome's destiny was aligned with cosmic order. A phoenix was brought to Rome. It was paraded through the Forum, displayed publicly, shown as a living symbol of renewal and continuity. Later, Pliny the Elder writes about this event and adds a blunt assessment. No one doubted that this phoenix was a fabrication, a fake. But this does not erase the phoenix tradition. It reveals something more telling. They staged a fake because people already believed a real phoenix existed somewhere in the world. Because expectation preceded proof. You don't forge something that no one is waiting to see. Investigations. What was actually found? Modern investigation into the phoenix did not begin with myth. It began with bones. In 1977, archaeologists excavating a Bronze Age site in the United Arab Emirates uncovered fossil remains of an enormous bird. The most important find was a leg bone far larger than that of any living heron species. The remains were studied by Danish paleontologist Dr. Ella Hawk, who identified the species and named it Ardea benuides, often called the Bennu heron. Based on the fossil, researchers estimate the bird stood well over 2 meters tall. Larger than the modern Goliath heron. Heavy-bodied, imposing, rare. Dating places the species in the 3rd millennium BCE, the same period when Egyptian texts and temple reliefs begin depicting the Bennu bird. The discovery did not prove the phoenix existed, but it demonstrated something crucial. Ancient people in Egypt and Arabia could have encountered a massive, unfamiliar heron species that later vanished from the world. A real animal, rare, striking, and gone. Other explanations that fit the record. Living species also align with ancient descriptions. The Goliath heron still inhabits parts of Africa and the Nile Basin. It stands nearly 5 feet tall. Its wingspan exceeds 7 feet. Its plumage shifts color depending on light, gray, blue, chestnut, reddish. Seen alone at dawn, backlit by the rising sun, its crest feathers can appear flame-like. Flamingos offer another clue. They migrate in enormous colonies. They appear suddenly, often in the thousands, then vanish for years. Ancient observers tracking cycles rather than populations could interpret these arrivals as a single returning sacred presence. None of these explanations require fantasy, only rarity. Why the theory of symbolism falls short. Egyptian religion clearly distinguished between gods, mythological beings, and real animals. Composite creatures existed in legend. The Bennu did not belong to that category. It appears in natural history contexts, alongside crocodiles, ibises, hawks, animals that unquestionably existed. It was sacred, but it was also real. The consistent pattern. Egypt had the Bennu. Greece had the phoenix. Persia had the simurgh. China had the fenghuang. Different meanings. Same core image. A rare bird, associated with the sun, appearing cyclically, never common. That consistency suggests observation came first, and interpretation followed. What remains? No bird lives 500 years. No bird ignites itself, but species go extinct. Migration patterns disappear. Rare animals become legend. The ancient world documented something. They debated it. They doubted parts of it. They admitted uncertainty. That is not blind myth-making. That is observation struggling with interpretation. Somewhere between Egypt and Rome, between heron and legend, something was seen. What exactly remains unknown? And that uncertainty is not a failure of history. It is where history ends and belief begins. the story doesn't end here. For more mysteries, join us and subscribe to Beyond the Myth.